In this video, we're going to look at working with the individual grooves that populate the palette. Now you can load individual grooves into these slots, and you can do that one of three ways. You can double click on an empty slot, and you can call up the groove chooser here like that. Or you can just select an empty slot, and you get the shortcut menu here, and you can load the groove by that button. Or you can do it via the main menu up here and go load groove. So let me just select an area up here. I'm going to select A6, and I'll show you why I'm selecting that in a moment. And I'm going to go load groove. Now the groove chooser here is pretty much the same as the palette chooser. I'm not going to go over all the individual elements again, but there is a show palettes button here where you can show the palette that the grooves belong to. But when that's off, you get to browse and audition the individual loops. And you can select and load multiple loops, and that's why I selected that slot up there. You can make multiple selections by clicking and shift clicking like that to add contiguous grooves, or you can command click like that to add individual elements like that that are non-contiguous. Let me select some extra grooves here, and I'm going to add them in. Let's go take some of these fills, tossed fills, or chukka fills, chukka grooves. I'll use some of these. So I'm shift clicking, and I can hit the load button now, and it's going to load them all sequentially into the slot that I started at. So let's do that, and there are those fills that I just loaded in. Now let's look at playing the grooves from the palette here. You can play them by MIDI note, as we saw. So I can just hit a note on my keyboard. And you saw it light up here, and it played that groove as I pressed the key down. But there are lots of ways to influence the behavior of how these get triggered. Now we have the groove actions, slot start and slot end. So the actions that you set here are unique for specific grooves. So let's say I select that slot. I can influence the behavior of that groove, what happens when it starts and when it stops, when it's triggered by MIDI. Now let's say when it starts, I can have it start on the next beat. So let's say I select next beat. What happens now when I trigger with the MIDI keyboard, if I trigger another one, it'll wait till the next beat to start. And I can similarly set that to the next bar, or wait till the end of the groove, and then it'll start the next one once it's triggered, or play it in sync so that as soon as I hit the next trigger note, it'll start from the same position in that next groove's position in the bar and play it in sync, or it'll start immediately. So if I'm triggering one groove and then trigger another one, it'll start immediately right when I press my finger on the MIDI trigger or hit it with a stick on a pad. And you see default here, and what that means is this. These actions are unique for specific groove slots here, but you can also have a default action which you set up here, and that's a default for all the grooves, so you can set the behavior to be the default action. So you can have a default set for all the grooves, but yet have a couple of them with unique attributes. So the fields here look the same. We have the same fields here except for the default field that's not here because this is the default field. Now there's some preferences that also affect how the triggering works. I'm going to go to the preferences page and go to the session area, and there's a latching mode preference here. I'm going to put that on. Now this is really useful. It's fun. It's a very musical way of using these grooves. Normally, what happens is when you hit the MIDI note, let's say a key on the keyboard, the groove will play as long as you have your finger down. But with that latching mode enabled, what happens is it'll play as long as you don't hit another trigger note. So I can basically hit the MIDI key, take my finger off the keyboard, and then hit it again to stop. Now that's really useful for when you're switching loops. So I can hit one, have it play, and then hit another one. And that's where these default groove actions or unique groove actions come into play. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to hit one of these, and then while it's playing, I'm going to take my finger off and hit another one, and it'll start based on these groove actions. Let me scroll down. I want to work with the regular grooves. I don't want to work with the fills right now because those have different properties, which we're going to get to. But right now, these are all set to the default actions, and the default action is to play it in sync. So I can trigger a note, take my note off the keyboard, and it'll keep playing until I hit that note again to stop it or hit another one. So I can easily switch between the grooves. Let me make up a little part on the fly for you. So there you go, all in real time just by triggering stopping and starting in real time based on latch mode. Let's go back to the preferences. There's another related preference, polyphonic mode, and this allows 2 loops to be played at the same time. And again, you can have lots of fun with this. I'm going to switch this to play next beat for the default behavior. And let's see what kind of fresh hell I can create with this preference. Now, these same behaviors and preferences work when you're triggering via these audition buttons as well. And you can audition individual elements within the grooves. So, for example, if I hit the plus button, it'll disclose the different elements. So I can play a groove from one and then switch to some of the other elements. Like, for example, I can do this. Got stuck there, so I hit my panic button. But you can see that you can audition different elements from different grooves while another groove is playing. So very powerful previewing features here. That's it for this video. Stay tuned. We're going to look at ways of managing all these grooves within the palette in the next video.